Let's talk about how the Aaliyah album is a masterpiece, even 20 years later.
If it wasn't for
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming back with a very exciting and special video. Today is July 17th, which marks 20 years since Aaliyah released her masterpiece of a self-titled album. 20 years. And before we begin talking about it, right, I know there seems to be some type of confusion with like July 7th or July 17th. Like, which day is it? July 7th was when the album was released worldwide. It was released in Japan first. July 17th is the date Aaliyah was really pushing because that's when it was released in America. You know, Aaliyah is an American artist. We're gonna go with July 17th, all right? And it's 20 years later. Let's talk about it. I was young at the time, but I do remember when that album came out and the promotion for it and everything. And I remember when I would go down to Times Square with my parents, right? And Aaliyah had her own big billboard on Times Square, right in the middle with her album, and it was like Aaliyah's coming, and you had the album cover, and just knowing that she went to TRL many times down there, and then she had the FYE album signing down there where she was recording and filming her MTV Diary, Aaliyah MTV Diary. Work down at Times Square now. So just knowing like, damn, sometimes I walk by like, oh, I think Aaliyah's billboard was right there. Or I'm like, oh, Aaliyah's album signing was over here. She was on TRL, used to be over here. Like, I'm like, damn, 20 years ago, Aaliyah was right in this area. Her billboard was right here. And now I'm like, you know, I was a little kid back there, but now I'm working down there. I'm like, man, if only I was old enough to like really, you know, but I try not to dwell on that because, you know, it was what it was. And another thing I remember about Aaliyah's album promotion for her self-titled was that animated commercial, which I did a video about last week. You know, I had to wear the special Aaliyah shirt, you know, Aaliyah with the red letters, because you know the album is also called the Red Album. The most ironic thing about the shirt, and really why I wore it, is because it has two title tracks from the album. It has I Care For You right here and More Than a Woman right here. So I'm just like, this is the perfect shirt to wear for this. If my memory does recall, I remember it was either my mother or my father who got Aaliyah's album, because my mother, that's how I'm so into music, and I'm such an old soul, and I'm so into like the older artists, you know, from the 80s and 90s, even the 70s and the early 2000s, because I grew up listening to that music. It's nothing like riding in the back of the car, listening to certain songs, and I'll always have those nostalgic memories in me. But I remember it was either my father or my mother, they got Aaliyah's album, and that's one of the albums we used to ride around in the car listening to that summer, 2001. I remember. Mind you, this was Aaliyah's third album, so she was not a new artist, but as many said, even Aaliyah said herself in many ways, and you know, the media publications and a lot of people in the industry, this was the Aaliyah album that showed that she had finally arrived in a way of like, it's not just Aaliyah, the R&B artist. Oh, Aaliyah, you know, she has some popular songs on the radio. She got some popular videos on TV. You might see her here and there. No, Aaliyah had arrived. Like, she had like that status to her. Like, her name rung bells. It wasn't just like, oh, Aaliyah, the one that sang One in a Million. It was Aaliyah. Like, she had arrived. And I'm not gonna do an album review because I already did one like a year ago. Check that out. But I just want to talk about the impact that this album has had, and 20 years later, how you can see it in other artists and new music, and just my thoughts on the album. What's my favorite tracks on the album? I want to know what were your favorite tracks on the album, and we're just gonna really celebrate the Aaliyah album in the comments down below. Every time I get into that mood to listen to the whole Aaliyah album, I feel like this. It just puts me in a state of mind of relaxation, and I feel so at ease and such in a state of euphoria, and the album takes you on a journey. And like I said, with the album, it's a body of work. It's not just like a string of random songs she just did and throw in the album and it's like, okay, this is track number 1, that's track number 3. No, you could tell like she was working on her film Queen of the Dam at the same time she was recording this, but you could tell time and effort went into recording this album and making it a body of work. Aaliyah had came to the point in her artistry and her career where she wasn't just putting out fast hits to get number ones and Grammy nominations and Billboard for 10 weeks, you know, Billboard number one for 10 weeks. She was really putting out bodies of work. She wanted to be taken seriously as an artist, not just a hit maker. She wanted to be taken seriously as an artist. And the Aaliyah album is a perfect proof of that. You know, 20 years later and over the last 20 years, from the Tinashes to the Janae Aikos to the Hers to the, who else do you have? The Summer Walkers, from the Scissors, all these different type of artists, the alternative R&B, you can hear the influence. And they've even said Aaliyah been influenced, Halle and Chloe. You can hear that influence that Aaliyah had. This is back in 2001. Aaliyah was ahead of her time. And here's the thing people don't realize. With the Aaliyah album, it was such a different, it was Aaliyah, but you could tell she was approaching it in different angles. And there was even some people, I read comments now where people be like, oh, I didn't really like the album. I like One in a Million better. That was like the Timbaland sound, the One in a Million, the Timbaland and Missy sound thing, right? You could tell Aaliyah was really experimenting with the Aaliyah album. She had a new group of in-house producers, and they were really experimenting with the different sounds and different elements and different instruments and different vocal arrangements and different productions, and of course Static Major to help hum everything together. And it was just an amazing body of work that was created. And a lot of people, like I said before, a lot of people like to say that, oh, that's not their favorite album, or oh, I was really disappointed, or it was my favorite. That's the thing though. If Aaliyah wanted to, she could have made a whole bunch of songs like Try Again. She could have made a whole bunch of songs like Are You That Somebody, which was those big radio hits, those Air Candy songs that had the nice video with the dancing and the outfits and the makeup and the hair and all that. She could have made a whole bunch of songs and videos like that. But like I said, this album proved that Aaliyah was really becoming an artist. Like she was really about experimenting and artist development and really honing her craft. And it was amazing and beautiful to witness. I mean, so let's start off. You had songs like We Need a Resolution, Rock the Boat, I Care For You. Like all these songs that each told their own story, that each had their own rhythm, that each had their own flavor. And it just made the whole Aaliyah album so unique, so distinct, such an interesting journey to just listen to. And I gotta admit, I've made many videos saying, oh, We Need a Resolution wasn't the first best single. They should have did More Than a Woman. They should have did Rock the Boat. And y'all know how we feel. Most of us feel about the album promotion and what single should have been first and all that. And it's like, okay, to really get the album going, to really have a strong first week sales and all that, I say, and people agree, that We Need a Resolution was not the most radio-friendly single for the album to really to really push it and for the radio to be playing it. Like, oh, they got a new album coming out. Oh, to really have that significant push for the album to just come out with some monster blowing sales. But looking back on it, I gotta say that, but in a way I'm looking back on it, I'm glad that Aaliyah and her label took the risk of releasing We Need a Resolution as the first single and, showing the music video, because it showed a different side of Aaliyah. It wasn't like the Try Again, where it was like an instant hit, instant success, #1 Grammy nomination. But, this is a different side of Aaliyah. This is a different type of sound. This is a different type of music video. Like, you can see Aaliyah's growth as an artist. And that's the most beautiful thing. That's, as a fan, you want your favorite artist, or you're looking back on it, you be like, damn, I wanted her album to do better. I wanted her first single to go #1 or top 10. But artistically speaking, visually speaking, it's great that that was the first thing, because it's like, even now, We Need a Resolution has a freshness to it that, looking back on it in 2021, you're like, damn, Aaliyah was way ahead of her time. Or like, Aaliyah had a nice thing going. She didn't have to be like a Britney Spears type of pop star, or a Destiny's Child type thing. It was like with hit after hit after hit. She had her own thing going on, and then you come to the realization, and you really look into it. It's like, Aaliyah didn't chase the hits. She didn't chase the charts. She didn't chase Grammys. She just released the music she wanted to, and it did what it did. It was a great success. It was a great success. If it was a moderate success, it was a moderate success, right? She didn't make that whole body of work to be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my album. Oh yeah, this is gonna sell 10 million, and this is gonna go diamond. Or I'm gonna have 5 #1 hits from this. It was just her body of work that she just made for the love of it, for the love of giving music to her fans and to the public. And I can tell that she enjoyed making it. And that's all that really matters. And I can tell that all the fans, most of the fans, including me, we enjoy listening to it, and we still enjoy listening to it. And that's the biggest impact, that's the biggest accomplishment Aaliyah had with the album. The freshness it has, and how 20 years later, and over the last 20 years, it's been referenced, sampled, used as an influence, and just revered as one of those top albums of the new millennium. But like, that's really the most important thing when it comes to the Aaliyah album. Its influence and impact even 20 years later. Unfortunately, that was like Aaliyah's final chapter. And her book is never going to be finished. But for her final chapter to be Aaliyah self-titled, you know, it was a great ending as far as her music goes, you know? And we all know the album is not on streaming services. Hopefully that changes in the future. You know, let's see what August 25th brings. There's still hope. But, you know, you can still go on YouTube. You can still, some people got the links. Some people still got it in their iPod. And some people still got it, you know, in their Apple Music. You know, some people find ways to get it. It's ways to get it. And of course, I would love to support it with the streaming. But, you know, we got to make do for now until eventually that changes. Brings so much joy to my soul to just listen to the album. You know, it's bittersweet knowing that that was Aaliyah's last body of work where she was really able to give it her all, give her input, and it wasn't a posthumous release. But it feels great knowing that that album and that body of work that she put her all into while filming Queen of the Dam and being so busy and, you know, almost stretching herself thin. It feels great to know that it's still celebrated, and it has been celebrated over the last 20 years. 20 years? That's legendary. That's iconic. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people try to say this and that, but 20 years later, and that album is still making noise, and it's not even on streaming services, Aaliyah is still that one, okay? I just wanted to end this by telling y'all what my favorite tracks were, and then we're going to talk about it down below in the comments. Okay, my favorite tracks from the Aaliyah album was We Need a Resolution, Rock the Boat, More Than a Woman, I Care For You, Extra Smooth, Read Between the Lines, It's Whatever, Those Were the Days. And you know what? I'm going to add loose rap in there. So yeah, the album was just a great body of work. And what were y'all favorite tracks from the album? What do y'all remember about the album? Do y'all remember when the album first came out, if you were old enough? Do you remember, what do you think about the album's impact and influence and legacy over the last 20 years? And how do you see the album impact? And how do you see the album's impact in R&B and music in general, even today, 20 years later? The album is a masterpiece. So glad that that album is a part of Aaliyah's legacy. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see y'all in the next video.
This album, I'm very happy with this album because I feel like it's really Aaliyah, which is why I wanted to self-title this one. It's very different. It's a bit grown up. I'm a young adult now, and I think that really comes through in this album. I've grown, even vocally, and I think that's evident. You hear that. So I really want people to get a sense of who Aaliyah really is with this album, and this one is really me.